Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 13, Episode 48, overall 708 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph, Ottawa. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you. Or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, the regional dealer, has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, even before I was born. And they have been a proud sponsor advertiser of this show for the past 3.5 years. I hope everyone is doing well on this Thursday, May 14th, 2026. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is her first time on our show. We connected through a social media site called Threads, and we're going to bring her on one moment. Her name is Romina, or known as REDROMINA, and she is a content creator. She is an author. She is a travel and lifestyle creator, and she's an award-winning filmmaker as well. So we're going to bring her on Romina now. 1 second. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Chris. How are you doing?
You're very welcome. I hope I didn't butcher your first name.
No, that's all right. You're doing fantastic.
Okay, because I always try to make sure I get my guest names right too. And doing all these shows, I've met so many people from around the world, and it's the guests that make a great show. So thank you so much for coming on here today, and I'm excited to speak with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So how are things in your part of the world? I believe in Miami, Florida?
That's correct. Yeah, I'm in Miami, and it is excruciatingly hot today. But aside from that, it's really nice. It was a little rainy this week, so I'm actually happy that it's like sunny and blue skies today.
Are you originally from the state of Florida?
I am, yeah. Actually, Miami specifically, born and raised.
What makes Miami such a great place to live and work in, minus the weather? Obviously, the weather is a big factor.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually prefer cold weather. And so the fact that I'm like
Really?
in one of the hot, yeah, and so I'm
Wow.
like in one of the hottest places in the US, and but it's a really great it's a really great city to live in as a creative and an entrepreneur because it's so vibrant and there's so many places to work from. Like sometimes I'll just go to botanical garden or I'll be by the ocean working on my laptop, and it's just something that you don't really get in a lot of other cities or states in the US. So I'm very fortunate that I live in a place where a lot of people vacation.
And would you say Miami is a very diverse city too?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's not just like diverse like culturally, but also it's very diverse in the type of people who are here. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of young people who are go-getters, and it's really inspiring and it's motivating to be surrounded by people who kind of have like the same mindset and have the same energy.
By the way, I'm 53 years old, and for many years I worked in another job, a corporate job for many years. I never thought I would see myself as an entrepreneur or a business owner. And 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, I got a taste of the broadcasting bug, and now I'm proud to say I'm an entrepreneur and a business owner and a full-time content creator as well.
That's amazing. Congratulations on joining the best part of being a human.
Absolutely. And I love being my own boss. I set my own hours and I'm responsible for my work. And it's just great to meet people like yourself. And I wanted to ask you this, Romina. When did you get the bug for being a creative, a content creator, and an entrepreneur? When did this all start for you?
I think that's a really great question because for me, entrepreneurship started really early on. I've always been very creative in terms of like solving problems. And when I was really young, I started off making little businesses around my neighborhood and doing stuff like just selling stuff in my neighborhood. So entrepreneurship actually started off for me when I was really, really young. And in terms of like creativity, I always knew that I wanted to be in a creative field. I published my first book when I was 16 years old, and my dad is an artist as well, and so I think that inspired me in many ways to follow down that path. And I love movies, and so I just knew that I wanted to do stuff in video and film. It was just always something that was ingrained in who I am.
Congratulations. Now, Romina, for those people that are watching our show live stream right now or on audio platforms later, what advice would you give to them from your experiences as an entrepreneur and a content creator?
I would say to just start. I think a lot of people they hold off because they overthink the process and they think that they have to be either they have to have a certain amount of capital, or they need to have a business plan, or they need to have an interesting life in order to create content and make videos and post them online. When really you just have to start. And I think that's like the number one thing that I would tell people. And I think the second thing that I would tell people is that this path is very non-linear. And so it's something that I encourage people to lean into and not try to make it linear, because I think a lot of people, they'll think that you have to do things a certain way and follow things in a strategic manner that is kind of like outlined by our predecessors. But like in actuality, it's better if you jump into the deep end and you do things in a non-linear way and kind of explore and find your way to success.
What are some challenges for entrepreneurs in 2026 from your perspective?
I think that AI is probably a huge challenge. It is a leverage for a lot of people who previously they had obstacles or challenges in like being able to develop was probably something, whether it's like to make an app or to make a website or to create a platform. These things were challenges in the past, but now with AI, that has kind of like become more accessible for people who have really big ideas. But then on the flip side, that's also a challenge as well, because now we have a lot of people who are creating products because it is now so accessible. And so I think now more than ever, it's so crucial for entrepreneurs and creatives alike to figure out what your differentiator is and figure out what is going to make you stand out and what will make you unique. And I think that ultimately the answer to that is you. It's who you are as a person, your perspective, your opinions, and that sort of thing is what's going to make you stand out in this sea, and is kind of what will give you the leg up for one of the biggest challenges this year for entrepreneurs, which is, standing out in a sea of apps and all sorts of products. Like now more than ever, I think entrepreneurship is more accessible than it's ever been.
Absolutely. And when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and they didn't have this technology back in the 90s. So this technology has been great, and I've used it. Now, AI can be a good tool, and I use a little bit of AI for my editing video when I'm extremely busy, but I still edit video the old-fashioned way. But I do use it when I am extremely busy, and it comes in handy. I wanted to get your thoughts on AI. Do you Obviously it has a lot of good advantages, but do you find AI is shrinking the workforce and also shrinking the film industry these days too?
I wouldn't use the word shrinking so much as changing. I think that there are many more possibilities now. I mean, there's a number of people who have really wonderful ideas for stories and they have stories to tell. But previously, they didn't have the technology. They didn't have the gear available to them. But then, with the smartphone and with camera equipment becoming more and more accessible, then that gap got more narrow and people were able to create those ideas. And I think now it's even more narrow, where there's just going to be more and more people creating more films and creating more projects. And I think that ultimately what will happen is that we're going to have people who will want to create using AI and people who will want to create with a fully human team and not use any AI. And I think that there's just going to be multiple levels to content creation or to film in general. And I don't think that it's shrinking. I think that we're just going to have many more options to choose from, both as a consumer and also as a creator.
I want you mentioned this earlier too. You wrote your first book at 16 years old. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was your inspiration behind your first book, and how would you describe your writing style?
So, my very first book was a book of poems that I wrote between the ages, I think it was like 12 and 13, something like that. So, I was like a preteen, just like on the cusp of becoming a teen. And the reason that I put this book together was because I was already writing poetry. For whatever reason, that's just the way that I chose to express myself at that age, was through poetry. And then it got to a point where I had a lot of poems that I had collected over the years, and I think that having a strong support system around me and having like family and friends, and at the time I was in school, and I was definitely known as like the creative person in school, and so within all of that, I eventually put all of those poems together and then had them published. I designed the cover myself. It was a painting that I did. And the book is called The Freedom of My Eyes. And yeah, I guess like in terms of like my writing style, there's so many different degrees to it. Very much so for that book, I was exploring who I was as a person and as an individual. I was a teenager. So I think that it is an interesting book to read as an adult, because you kind of have to read it through the lens of this girl who's like 12, 13 years old, and the way that she's like exploring the world and becoming a woman and becoming the person that she's gonna be ultimately. And so that book in particular is, I think, unique to my writing style because now I write differently, you know. But when I was that young, there was a lot of self exploration, figuring out the world, trying to understand the world and the things that I saw. So a lot of the things in that book aren't personal experiences, but more so a reflection on the world around me and my interpretation.
Romina, we have a couple of people watching on YouTube. Dark Passenger, and Elizabeth, and Elizabeth wants to say Romania is awesome, great guest, and that's the thing I love about my show. It's the guests that make a great show, and the storytelling and learning from every guest that comes on here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for calling out the viewers.
Oh, absolutely no problem. And I'm still a work in progress. I have to ask you this too. I don't know a lot about poetry. I did a little bit in high school, but what makes a good poet? And where is this book available if people still want to purchase it? Is it still on Amazon.com and all that?
That's a great question. I have I have a few copies of the book. It's currently out of print because I'm working on another edition of that book to fix up some stuff now that I'm an adult. But I do have some other books that I will be publishing soon, maybe by the end of this year or early next year. So that's something to look out for, and that'll probably be on Amazon and my website as well. But that's a good reason to follow me because I've got those books coming out soon. But the other question that you asked was what makes a good poem. I think that what makes a good poem is perspective. I think that if you put your perspective into it as a writer, I think that's what makes it unique, is because you know how many people have written poems about rivers or animals or whatever. Like it's hard to find like an original idea, but I think that what makes it unique is your perspective, is your own personal experience that you put into the poem, and the words that you use to describe everyday things that you, or feelings that everybody experiences or witnesses. I think that's what makes a really good poem, is thinking about, is like being able to read a poem and thinking about things in a way that's different from your own.
What are your thoughts on hard copies compared to the digital copies or Kindle and with all the technology nowadays?
Well, I love all of the different formats. For me, I don't have like I'm not like a stickler for formats. I think that as long as somebody is reading, I'm happy. Like I don't care how you consume the book, you know. I do the audiobooks. Whenever I am traveling, I might take a Kindle with me because it's so much more convenient to take one device with me than to bring like two or three books that I'm only going to read like a few pages of, you know. And I love having a good hard copy. Like when there's a beautifully designed hard copy book, I love that. But like right now I've got an audiobook. I'm reading a book, and I've got it on audiobook and I have a print version of it. Because I think it's like it really depends on like the content and what you're reading. But for sure, like as long as people are reading, I don't think that it matters what format. I think whatever works for you at whatever moment in your life, I think that's the best.
Thoughts on self-publishing compared to traditional publishing of a book?
I don't think it matters. I think at this point it's we're so like far beyond that, where I think that if it's sort of like entrepreneurship, where it's like who am I to tell you that you can't open up a company? And so I think that like if you have a piece of work that you want to get out there, I mean, there's like a local bookshop that I go to a lot, and they have a lot of like local books. Like, so there, a lot of them are like self-published, like zines or their memoirs or photography books. And so because of that, they're very personal, and they're not really works that are going to end up in like a national bookstore or online. It's like meant to be something that's personal. So like there's no reason for them to go through a traditional publisher, you know? I mean, if they have a really interesting story and they want to write a memoir for their children, and then it just happens to be interesting enough for like, 1,000 other people to read, then why not just like publish it?
I had a woman on from Florida a couple weeks ago. Her name's Cassie Flolock, and she's an author as well. But she also is an author coach where she helps inspiring people who are looking to write a book and helps them with the process as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So she was a guest on your show. I'm going to have to
A
check that
couple,
episode out.
I'll have to send you the link. Her
Yeah,
name's
send it to
Cassie
me. Yeah.
Flolock. Yes, I absolutely will. And I thought it was very interesting. And I didn't even know there was coaching books, like booking
Yeah.
a book coach. She assists with that, and I had no idea. And I'm hoping one day when I'm really successful to maybe write my own book from going from security into the media industry and my experiences. And I was going to ask you this too, Romania. How important how valuable are your life experiences in terms of writing a book as an author?
How important are life experiences?
Yes.
I think it depends on the kind of book that you're writing, but also I think I think that having a life and like living your life and having life experiences to pull from can definitely be a very strong inspiration towards writing good literature.
And I have some more viewers watching. Grumpy Sapper Music says, "Hello, lovely people. Thank you for watching." And then I have Man Dog 2026 on YouTube. He wants to know, what is your advice for someone who has written poems and would like to publish? Great question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I so as I said earlier, my first book was a culmination of a lot of different thoughts as I was growing up. And so I think that like putting that together in a collection was kind of like reaching a little bit. And so my advice would be to not do what I did and to actually have some kind of like through line to bring all of your poems together. So think about it as a collection. And if a poem doesn't really quite fit in with like all of the other poems, then I would not include it and I would like put it off for some other published work. And I think that like thinking about like poetry as more of an interactive medium, like find creative ways of publishing the poem. Like, could you put illustrations? Could you do it with color? Could you put some photography? Like, what are some ways that you can make it a little bit more unique? Because the thing about poems is that I find that poetry, it can be a very like I think that it's a very visual medium. I think that the way that a poem looks on a page can be just as important as what it sounds like when you read the lines off of the page. And I think that kind of thinking about it like that can help to create a really nice piece of published work.
Grumpy Sapper Music, who's watching on YouTube again, thank you for comments. He wants to write a book himself. He needs some advice, and he also says, "I'm writing some stories in music, but I want to transfer them to a book."
Yeah, I think the same applies where having some kind of like a through line where there's a cohesive theme or topic that you can put together. I think that if you're doing like short stories, I'm going to assume that they're like short stories in music. I think that kind of putting that into some kind of like visual medium might be good, especially because like a lot of people when they listen to music, they picture a lot of things. And so I think that you're already working with music, Grumpy. So I think that like incorporating that into some kind of like visual medium, I think would be really successful. Because the thing is too, is like you don't always have to like think like books don't always have to be all words, you know? Like if you kind of think about it as more of an interactive, immersive experience, yes, that could be like a 500-page novel, but also it could be like a picture book with like interesting words, you know? So it's a very wide spectrum.
And I've got some more comments here from Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth, for watching on YouTube. She wants to know, I would love to know how you get the courage to let others see your work. Putting yourself out there seems really scary.
So I think confidence is definitely a key player. I think that for me, one of the things that I learned in terms of like content creation and doing video stuff is that the majority of the time, people aren't really, I think that we analyze ourselves more than other people do. And I think
100%.
that there are people who will definitely be like, oh, look how like, look at her eyebrows. They're all like askew, or like, oh, look at the way that she talks. Like, I can't believe she says that. And, people have like opinions for sure. And sometimes worse opinions than like better ones. But I think that we judge ourselves a whole lot more than other people do. I think people are so busy with their own lives and what they're doing that that I kind of think I come at it from that angle, where I just imagine myself and what I would like to see like in my videos. And I think like the number one thing that I hear from people is that they think that their life isn't interesting, or that they think they don't have anything interesting to say. And I think that that is like the core of not having the courage to let other people see your work, because it's I'm not I'm not good enough, or I'm going to be judged, or I'm not interesting, or my life is boring. But in reality, there's so many little fractions of life that can be so interesting to so many people. Like even somebody who makes their own soap, like to them, they might be like, oh, this is boring. I'm just making soap because I make soap for me. But like for somebody who has no idea how to make soap, it might be really interesting to watch somebody else explain how to make soap. And so I think that like courage is really just, it comes from repetition. And you start to I guess like tenderize the meat, as we say. Like if you just keep going, eventually you find the courage to put yourself in front of more and more and more people. And ultimately just remembering that if you are really passionate about something, and you love to do something, that's going to show, and people are going to react according to that.
For many years, I used to play small, belittle myself. I would not go out in public. I was afraid of public people, like speaking on public. And ever since I went into security for 2 decades, I had to learn how to talk, listen, communicate, and be a public speaker. And those skills have really helped me here. And I tell people, even high school kids I talk to, just because you're shy at this point of your life doesn't mean you're going to be like that 10, 20, 30 years from now. And I've stepped out of my comfort zone. And also, when I first started doing this show, it was all on private settings. And one of my friends told me, Chris, if you want people to see your work, you have to put yourself out there. And a lot of people obviously support my work, but you also get your skeptics, naysayers, and sometimes haters. But you have to block out the noise too when you put yourself out there in the public eye.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I love what you said to talking to someone who is younger, it letting them know that just because they are a certain way now doesn't mean that they're going to be that way forever. I think that's such an important lesson to learn at that age.
And I have another comment here from Mandog 2026 on YouTube. Thank you, buddy, for watching. He wants to know, how can you protect your work before putting it out on social media? Great question.
So there's a lot of ways to protect your work. Obviously, copyright is a big thing. That you can file a copyright. You can also file for a trademark, which is a little bit more expensive, but you would only really do that if you have something that's really unique, like some kind of like a slogan, or a word or something like that. And then also having the basic like legal structures. Don't necessarily like protect the work itself, but it does give you leverage if you have to counter some kind of, if you have to do some kind of dispute. Unfortunately, when you put your work out there, no matter what it is or where it is that you publish it, you are going to run the risk of it being out in the world. And so it does get difficult to protect your work. I mean, I have traveled a lot and I have been to so many countries where they have knockoff Starbucks, Burger Kings, and like almost like the same logo, same colors. Like they do not care, okay? They don't care about IPs, they don't care about trademarks, they don't care about copyright because they're in like they're so far removed from the place of origin that it's not threatening for them to copy you and to have the same thing. So there is always a risk. I mean, I sometimes I think like maybe there's like some website out there that's just like uploading all of my videos and I have no idea. And I have no idea. Just like Starbucks doesn't know that there's like a fake Starbucks in the middle of the mountains in Pakistan. Like they have no idea. I know because I saw it, but like they don't know. They don't know that it's there unless someone who works at Starbucks saw it. And so I think you just kind of have to do what you can to protect yourself until a certain level, because after that, like once the cat's out of the bag, it's hard to put it back in.
Romania, as a content creator, and I'm one myself, I'm always aware of trends. And I find nowadays that everybody's attention spans is shrinking. And it seems like your videos are 15 seconds or less seem to get more views nowadays. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I wrestle with that myself because am I think that it's harder and harder to hold on to somebody's attention for a longer period of time. But what I have found is that the longer I make my videos, the longer people watch. And so I like originally I I thought that if I made my videos shorter, that more people would watch the videos because of the fact that people were staying for short bursts of time. But what I realized was that the longer that I make my content, the more time they spend watching my videos. And I think part of that is creating a culture around my content that rewards them for staying longer. And and number two, filtering out the people who don't who can't stand to watch for more than a couple of minutes. So I think that as a creator, continuing to push through the noise and continuing to create content that provides value, I think is going to be so much more sustainable in the long run than trying to chase fast trends, trying to create quick content that feeds the short span mind.
And I'll be honest, even when there's days where I'm not working media, like last night I went to a baseball game in Toronto, I still had my phone with me. I had my microphone and I was still creating content. And that's all I try to do. It's not quantity, but I try to produce quality content. And sometimes I think something's going to do well on TikTok and YouTube. It doesn't. And then sometimes I post something on there and I'm like, this is silly. Nobody will watch it. And it doesn't go viral, but it gets a lot of views too.
Yeah, I think the same thing happens to me. I think it happens to a lot of creators. I think it's just like continuing the course, continue to do the thing that you want to do with your content, and eventually your audience will find you, the right audience.
And one thing too, people don't realize I'm the host here, producer, content creator, but creating content is a full-time job as well as booking guests and it's something but you know what? I don't call it work. It's a passion of mine.
Yeah, I think that it's important to have passion, especially doing this, because it can be so difficult, so lonely sometimes, and isolating. And so I think like surrounding yourself with the right group of people, surrounding yourself with other creators, other business owners, and entrepreneurs is so important because it makes it so much easier.
Got more viewers watching. Thank you, Dark Passenger. He wants to say, "Hey, addictive." He has a question for you too, by the way. He wants to know, how do you determine the kind of content you want to create? Does the content sort of choose you based off what takes off? Good question.
I think it's a combination of both of those things. So I've been traveling my whole life. My parents, they love to travel, and so I was very fortunate that this is how I grew up. This was my way of life. And eventually when I joined YouTube, I decided to incorporate that into my videos. It took a while for me to get to that point. When I first started YouTube, I was just doing comedy skits, but then I realized that I was doing all this traveling stuff and I should probably document it as well. So that's when traveling started to become the content that I created, or rather that I started to incorporate adventure into my content. But if there are like specific types of content that take off, then I'll start to navigate through that and kind of like steer the ship into that, like lean into it. Because it kind of comes in waves. And so you have to listen to when those waves come and ride them, because you don't know when they're going to come back again.
Grumpy's got another comment this time. It's sad that the bitchy and nasty people get a lot of views, and society is very odd.
100%.
Addictive Red says, so substance is important in content creation.
Yes, that's the word, substance. For a lot of, I think for my content, it's important. I think that a lot of people do get by and they do become incredibly successful. But I think that if you want to have a sustainable career in content creation, substance is key.
I know you mentioned you're writing some more books in the future. Would you be writing one book about being a content creator as well? The do's and do nots.
You know, I've never really thought about that, Chris. I don't know if I will, because I don't really see myself so much as like a content guru. I have a lot of experience because this has been my career for the past couple decades, but I never really saw myself as writing a book so much about content creation, as much as like maybe like my creative life. So I do have like a nonfiction book that's like in the works, but it's more of like a motivational piece for creatives and for entrepreneurs. Because I do support that community a lot. It's one of the reasons why I created Create IRL, which is the company that I'm working on now. It's a events platform for content creators. And the idea behind it is to do events for creators to meet and to get to know each other and to learn from each other. So I never really like see myself in a position where I'm like there trying to teach people. That's not how I see myself, because I do so much learning from other creators as well. And so by having a platform like Create IRL, I'm able to meet so many creators who are doing things like aspects of content creation so much better than I am, that I get to learn from them. Right. And so I think that like having a network like that just kind of like helps to kind of bounce ideas off of other people. And I love to help people how I can, give feedback, teach people stuff. I've done like coaching and stuff like that for social media, like people who want to pick my brain. I've done that before. I'm still open to doing that sort of stuff. But it's not really something that I advertise, just because I love the kind of like two-way communication of like meeting other content creators.
Is Create IRL the events platform? Is it in person or is it online?
It's both, actually. So the idea behind Create IRL is to bring creators IRL, like in person. But we have a platform online, so we actually host events multiple times a week. So we do it every week, and we get together online. But we also host events IRL as well. And we've done stuff like we've done pop-up events in like Atlanta, New York, and Los Angeles, and Miami as well. And we're hoping that this year we can ramp up some of those IRL events, because that's really the goal behind Create IRL. Is like there's so much, like, and I'm sure that you understand, Chris, being a creator yourself, is like there's so much time that we spend by ourselves, like working on our content creation, building everything, and creating content, that finding other people to bounce ideas off of and kind of like get that feedback from other people who are at the same level is hard to do sometimes because there's so few people who understand exactly what we're doing.
Do you have a lot of clients and customers that are international as well?
Yeah, so we have a number of creators. Most of our creators are from the US, but we did have a member who I think she was in Germany. I forgot. But yeah, we're worldwide, so we're open to currently like our times for our events because we're a very small team right now, so our times like for our events might not be convenient for like people in Europe or India. But we're hoping to ramp up those online events too at like different hours once we expand our team so that we can have more of a worldwide membership.
Now, you mentioned about traveling, and you've been to 81 countries. That's impressive. I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. What have been some of your favorite countries and cities to visit?
That I get that question a lot. I would say, you know, there's a lot of, in terms of like cities, there's a lot of beautiful cities, especially within the United States alone. Like there's a lot of beautiful cities. But in the world, I have a number of countries that I have thoroughly enjoyed, like the Faroe Islands, Pakistan, Iceland, also Ireland, China, Cuba. I've been to so many wonderful countries, and they each have their own unique thing that makes them so special and fun and exciting. And I think that like choosing just one is like super difficult, but I would say that those are like my top ones. And in terms of like cities, there's so many that are just so wonderful.
Have you been to Canada yet as one of your
Oh
81
yeah.
countries?
Oh
What part of
yeah.
Canada?
Um, so I've been to a lot of Canada. I've been to Vancouver, Toronto, Quebec, that whole all of that, Alberta. I did Banff. Banff is like probably one of my favorite places that I've been to in terms of like national parks and natural world. I love it. It's absolutely breathtaking.
What are some of your favorite foods that you've had in other countries? And how many other languages have you picked up from traveling so much?
So I currently speak uh, English, obviously, Spanish and French. Um, those are my languages that I'm fluent in just because like I learned them from when I was little. And while I was traveling, I was actually, because my husband actually asked me this morning, he goes, "Do you know any Chinese?" And I said, "Yeah, I know two things. I know ni hao." And then he laughed because like everybody knows that. And then I said, "Xie xie." So xie xie I learned while I was in China. So that is one word that I've learned, or a phrase, I guess, that I learned while on my travel. And then also, I was living in Italy. I was studying singing in Italy, and I had to learn Italian while I was there. Like it was part of the singing symposium that I was a part of. We had to take Italian classes every day, and so I had to learn Italian while I was there. Unfortunately, like there's no one that I can like practice with really that I really practice with. So I understand it, but I don't really talk too much Italian.
What is next on your bucket list for traveling?
Everything, the whole world. Chris, it's a big world out there. I can't, what's next? I do have a really big trip that's coming up in June, so I'm going to be gone, which is one of the reasons why we tried to make this podcast work. This is like a very last minute thing. Literally, like Chris and we met like 2 days ago. I don't know, 3 days ago, on Threads. So this is like the power of the internet, which I love because I put it out there. Chris like responded to me. He's like, "I'm looking for guests. Like, let's do it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." How's Thursday? So we just kind of made it work. But one of the reasons that I'm kind of like, doing all of this stuff right now is because I am going on a big trip in June. I can't announce where I'm going yet, because I don't like to announce stuff until I'm actually there.
Understandable.
But once I'm there, hopefully I'll be able to live stream and stuff. I will say it's going to be a little tough because of, I'm going to give a hint. So time zone, because of the time difference, it's going to be a little tough on my audience. I don't know when I'm going to do like the live streams because it's I'm basically the time difference is going to be a little bit tough, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to continue doing the live streams and creating content while over there. I'm going to be gone for the most of the month of June, but I'm super excited because it's definitely an area of the world that I have not explored yet, and I'm looking to do very soon. But just to answer your question, I do have two countries that I haven't been to yet that are on my short bucket list. That they're like my dream country that I just haven't been to yet. One is Australia, and the other one's Japan.
Both on my bucket list, and Italy too.
Oh, Italy's wonderful. Yeah, I've been to Italy a number of times. I'm sure that you'll enjoy it, Chris. Do you like pasta?
Uh, I might not be Italian, but I look Italian. I love pasta. If I could, I'd eat pasta 7 days a week.
Okay, then you're gonna love Italy.
Might not be good for my weight line, but since you've been to Italy a number of times and they're known for their wine, red or white wine, what do you prefer?
So I'm not really much of a drinker, but I have like champagne and like prosecco every once in a while. I do like a good red wine, but I'll only have a little bit of it. I'm not much of a drinker though, like alcohol.
By the way, I have about 10 more comments. Do I have time to air some of our comments out for our
Yeah, let's do it.
viewers?
Yeah.
Okay, first one is from my friend Robbie in Buffalo, New York. He wants to say hi, Chris and Romina. Go Sabres. He's a big hockey fan, and he has his own podcast show too. And then Elizabeth wants to know, how do you deal with disencouragement in content creation, like a video you really worked hard on doesn't get any views, and seeing really low effort, low value content get a ton of views? Good question.
So that really sucks. I think you just have to accept the fact that you're gonna feel bad about it. It is discouraging, and that's just the truth of it. So, like, I can't say like, "Oh, don't feel bad about it." Yeah, feel bad about it, but move on. And I think that the important thing is to keep trugging along, to keep creating content. And for me, some of the things that have helped me recently is thinking about how temporary everything is on the internet. Like there's so many times where I'll just find myself like scrolling through content or like watching a video like really quickly, and I think, well, why am I any different? Like, why is my content any different? Why is anybody going to consume my content any differently than how I consume other people's content? If I'm just blazing through someone's videos, or I'm just like watching the first couple seconds and then moving on, why am I any different? I'm not. And so once I get off of like that high horse of feeling that like all of my videos and all of my content have to be hitters, I think it really helps me to like bring peace, because it is really frustrating and it really sucks, because it's like, especially when you're editing a video and like you're editing a video for weeks on end, and then nobody like is watching it, then it's like, oh, why did I put in all of that effort? And it's like, well, you know, sometimes these things happen. It could be the time of day that you posted. It could be one single thing that you said in the video that like triggered half of the people to stop watching. It could just be like the audio. Maybe it's the colors. Maybe it's like the lighting in the video. Who knows? Like there's so many different things, and kind of like analyzing it from that perspective, kind of seeing like, okay, let's see when people started to drop off, because when people drop off, that affects the overall views of the video and whether your videos get served to more people. So kind of like paying attention to that and being like, okay, when did they start to drop off? Is this something that I can adjust for my next video? Because that's the thing. That's the key. That's how you move forward, is thinking, okay, how can I improve this for the next time? I can't fix it now. It's over. I published the video. It's done. So how am I going to do better next time?
100%. And sometimes some of my stuff doesn't go very well. And then sometimes it does. I ate a bowl of ice cream last week, banana cream pie ice cream, and I did a little video on it. And it did really well on social media. And the owner of the business kind of thanked me for it. And I was glad to help out too. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things I do as a talk show host, as well as my own media company, as I can go to people's businesses and cut promos for them and put it on social media. And that's the thing. Don't give up. You got to have a strong mindset. Just continue to produce good content. Don't worry about the numbers. Eventually they will come.
Definitely.
Another comment here. This is this is another comment from Elizabeth. She would like to see a Create IRL Nashville event. Would be epic, and also one in Canada would be nice too. By the way, or near
Soon.
Toronto. I'm
Yeah.
near Toronto. I'm an hour from Toronto. So, and then Grumpy wants to say, love Banffs, love my time up there. I've been to more of the United States than my own country. So my next goal now is to travel around Canada, Western Canada specifically, and also Australia, Italy, and the Netherlands. The Netherlands is another country I'd like to visit.
Ooh, nice. Me too. Yeah.
And I've had guests on from 10 different countries and also 10 different time zones. So I've had to learn the time zone differences around the world too.
It's the worst.
These comments, thank you everybody for commenting on YouTube. This is amazing. Mandog 2026 is saying, can a shy person with creativity survive on social media, or does a content creator have to have a public facing and have a dynamic personality on camera?
I
Good
think that
question.
having a dynamic personality on camera is helpful. I think that you can be shy and be creative and survive on social media. There's definitely so many channels out there that are faceless channels. There's brands, there's artists. It just depends on the type of content that you're creating, but it's 100% possible. I mean, I see it all of the time.
And the comments are keep coming in. Elizabeth says clearly she's going to mountain time. Nobody does anything in mountain time. And
I'm
then
neither going to deny that or accept that.
go to the Philippines. You won't regret it. That's another
100%.
country.
Yeah.
And I think I've caught up on all the questions, but hey, these guys have been great today. And like I said, are you okay for a few more minutes and a few more questions?
Yeah, 100%. I think we can do a rapid fire.
Okay. What is the story behind your Amor Studios? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, about the name or just like the company itself.
The company and how you became the behind the company and also the name too, the
Cool.
branding.
Okay, so Animore Studios, Animore is just my name backwards, which a lot of people don't realize. But I think it's a company that I created when I was. It's been almost 20. It's been 20 years now.
Congrats,
Yeah,
that's
it's been like 20
amazing.
years now. It's this is my film production studio. So I produced feature films, worked in Hollywood for over a decade, and I just wanted. It was something that I used a lot. Like whenever I wanted to do something, I would just write my name backwards a lot. I liked how it looked and I liked how it sounded, and so then that's just what I made my company name. I wasn't even of legal age yet.
What were some of your challenges of starting up your own digital media and film production company?
I think so. That's a good question because I think like at the time that I started this, it was more of like a legal thing that I did for all of the work that I was doing. It just made it a lot easier for getting paid and doing film gigs. I think that later on, in terms of production, one of the most challenging things was, I think, like finding like networking. I would say like the first thing was just like networking and finding the right people, the right team members in order to have on all of my projects, which at the time, because this was my first company, that I officially created, and one that I worked on for many years. And so doing that, that was probably like one of the challenges at that time. I think that now it's so much more easier to have a film production company than it was when I first started this.
Do you find there's more independent movies being made now than even in 5, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Especially now with like AI. I think there's so much like a lot of pitch films and like that's pilot episodes that are being made. And I think that we're just going to see more and more indie filmmakers surface. One, because of AI, the accessibility of like the technology and being able to bring to life any story that you want. But then also, secondly, I think people are going to become more and more interested in the art of filmmaking as a human without AI. And so I think that because of that, we're going to see a lot of people learn how to make films the old way. I said that in quotes for the people who are just listening. And so I think that we're definitely going to see more indie films pop up, especially as we see. I mean, we already saw that like with the rise of YouTube and content creation online, we started to see more and more independent filmmakers than before 2006. Before 2006, you had to make movies the old way. You had to raise capital, and there was no way that you were making a movie for anything less than a few $100,000. And if you were, then nobody was watching that movie. But nowadays, you can make a movie with like $20,000, and you can have millions of people watch that movie. So I think that we're just going to see more and more of that in the years to come.
Do you find creativity is shrinking specifically in the Hollywood film industry these days? And you're seeing so many reboots and sequels as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do see that. I'm generally like a very positive person, and I'm a tech forward person. But I do see a lot of unoriginal stuff that's coming from mainstream media and traditional Hollywood. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to see like original films, like well done films. Like even just going back to the 90s and the 80s, like well, not so much the 80s. I'm going to say more like the 90s. Like if we're going back to like the 90s and the early 2000s, like we see even like comedy, even like the most low budget films, there's something about them, the way that they were filmed, the way that the directing, the acting, the screenplays, there's just like a higher caliber that was expected, that is not really expected anymore. I think now there's just like so many cash grabs, and I think it's really difficult to create good quality films when we have like these movies that all they're looking to do is spend hundreds of millions of dollars in order to make hundreds of millions of dollars back. And so when you're just trying to meet the bottom line, I think that it hinders the creativity.
How would you describe yourself as a filmmaker?
Curious. I like to experiment. I like to do things in a way that might not be the norm. My very first short film that I made was, I don't know how old I was, but I was definitely a child. I must have been like a preteen, or maybe like earlier. And it was a short film that I did with my dad, where I just filmed some stuff while we were on a vacation somewhere. And I created this music. I created music using my computer. Like I did the whole soundtrack for the short, and it was very experimental, and there was no lines, and it was just very like weird. But I was experimenting, and I think that is the basis of like who I am as a filmmaker. I love to experiment and try things a little bit differently. But I love a good story, and I love comedy. So if I can weave some kind of like comedy into what I'm doing, then I feel like that's it. That's like the bee's knees.
I'm going to let the viewers have two more questions because I know we're going to wrap this show up in 5 minutes. But the next question is from Dark Passenger. Would you ever make a short film or documentary pulling from all your travel experiences and maybe make a fictional story as a whole?
I see. I don't know. Maybe someday. So I did do a documentary about my dad as an artist. So that is the only documentary that I have so far. I do have an idea for another documentary that I would like to do, which does require me to travel. And that would, but that requires a lot more planning than making a documentary with my dad. I also want to make a documentary about my mom as well because I think she's really interesting. But I think that like kind of like incorporating like travel experiences and turning it into like a fiction story. I'm not sure if I would. I don't know if I never really thought about that.
Do you find there are more females now in filmmaking than even 5, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. But I think in general it's just because it's more accessible. I think it's more accessible now for people. I mean, there's more kids now too who are like creating film and like teenagers and stuff. Like there's this guy who he's I think he might be like 18 years old. He just got a deal with like A24 to make a movie. And so I think it's just like more accessible now. So there's definitely more diverse people who are creating films and being creative.
If there was one actress out there that could play you, who would it be?
Okay, so one person that everybody says that I am similar to is Sandra Bullock. I also get I also get Sarah Silverman a lot. And so I feel like I think it would have to be like I I'm not sure who would play me now because of like the age difference. And you know, Sandra Bullock is a little bit is a little bit older than so she wouldn't be able to play like a younger me, and I haven't lived my future me years yet, so I don't know if she would do it, but it's probably someone like her, Deborah
Grump,
Winger.
Deborah Winger. And last question from the viewers, because we're going to wrap this up, obviously. Man Dog, again, thank you for watching on YouTube. He wants to know, is there a lesson learned experience that you can share about going into the business for yourself?
Doing like I'm assuming that Man Dog is talking about the entertainment business.
Yeah, is there a lesson learned experience that you can share about going into business for yourself?
So I would say if we're talking about like the entertainment business, I would say it's not for everybody. There's a lot of rejection, a lot of self-doubt, and you really have to be a go-getter. And I think that that also applies to like entrepreneurship as a whole as well, because it there is a kind of like I think like lessons learned is accept the fact that like self-doubt is something that's going to chime in, and that having feelings of like frustration and disappointment and rejection, these are all things that are a part of it. And I think that the number one thing that I would tell people is to see how you can improve, see what you can learn from your shortcomings, see what you can learn from your obstacles, and always try to improve and keep iterating, keep improving, and don't give up. I think that's like the number one lesson is like to just stay on the bus, like keep going and figure it out along the way. So many times like we stop ourselves from doing the things that we want to do and from pursuing our biggest dreams because we overthink it and because of self-doubt and all of these other feelings and because of past failures. But sometimes you just have to say screw it and you just have to keep going, because sometimes what you started out doing isn't what you end up doing. And so I think that's a very important lesson to learn.
And I see how passionate you are and also how many hats you wear too. And I think it's important. You might not be the best at 10, 12 different things, but I think in any career, the more you can learn, the more valuable you become. And I'm learning that in media too. Just not being the on-air host, which I love doing, but also creating content, being the producer, editing video, going out and selling my business as well. And I'm still constantly learning all the time. And you know how many times I've been told no, skeptics and naysayers, you'll never make it. And the NFL turned me down a couple times. And now I've had media passes to the NFL draft, to the Super Bowl 60 this year. And you just got to keep at it. That's what I would tell anybody too. Mind straight. You got to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
Oh, that right there. That was fire.
And finally, as we wrap this show up, I could talk to you for 4 or 5 hours, but we'll maybe have you back on again if you want to come back on again in the future as another guest potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, Chris.
This segment, as we wrap up the show, is called Ask the Host CDP. A question. CDP are my initials, but do you have a quick question for me to put me on the hot seat as we wrap this up?
Oh my gosh. You want me to put you on the hot seat?
Or a cold seat? Like they did with Drake in Toronto.
Why haven't you explored more of Canada? Why have you explored more of the other countries instead of Canada?
I just because I love sports and I love shopping and I have family and friends over there. But to be honest, I do want to travel more in Canada. I've had a number of guests on from Western Canada, and I've seen some of the videos and the pictures out there. So Western Canada would be one. And then I would say Italy, Australia, and the Netherlands as well. And my show is not just a local show, it's an international show. And I'm learning. Every guest that comes on here has a unique story and career. And I've met people from different countries. And it's like, I really want to I want to travel more, because the more you travel, the more life experiences you get as well. You experience more.
Definitely. So you're going to book a flight soon, huh?
I've never been on an airplane yet. I've been on boats, buses, trains, but I've never been on an airplane yet. So that's a fun fact about me.
Nice. Okay. So soon, right?
What's the longest flight you've ever been on traveling?
You know, I think like 18 hours, maybe. I don't know. This was like buttload of hours. It's too much. After 3 hours, I stopped counting. TBH. I'm just like, there's no point.
Great episode, Chris and Romina. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Grumpy says, enjoyed the live chat. Man Dog 2026 says, great podcast. I subscribe. Thank you so much. It's the guests that make a show. I'm just the host, and my job is to make my guests feel comfortable and share their experiences. And the last comment from Grumpy, I had an interesting life. Everybody, regardless where you are in life or where you are in the world, everybody's had some kind of interesting life.
Mm.
And finally, where can our audience follow you on social media, your website, and what's the best way for people to contact you directly?
Yeah, I'm super easy to find everywhere. I am at REDROMINA. So that's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the places. YouTube is my main platform. I do live streaming almost every single day, and I post videos there as well. So that's probably the easiest way. And if you want to check out Create IRL, that's createirl.com. But feel free to reach out to me anywhere. My DMs are open.
And Grumpy has the last comment. Romina, I behave myself. That's a
Nice.
good thing. And hey, I want to say thank you so much for doing this, and I really appreciate it. And continue success in your career. And I'd like to keep in touch with you on social media, and perhaps maybe have you on back again and talk about some of your latest books, and also a podcast. Any plans to do podcasting again in the future?
Maybe in the future. Yeah, I think right now there's so many things that I'm working on that I can't. I need a little bit of help to be able to do more projects, but definitely because I love podcasting and I love talking to people. So in the future, yeah.
Absolutely. And if you give me a little bit of time tonight, because I have another show at 7 o'clock, I will send you the video, the audio, and I will edit this into reels and clips, and I will tag you in on it social media. And any feedback later would be greatly appreciated, because the only way you get better as a professional, as I take feedback from everybody and just try to keep improving and learning daily.
I love it. Yeah, awesome. Of course.
Thank you so much, and continue success. And we'll talk to you soon on social media.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
All right, everyone, that wraps up season 13, episode 48, overall 708 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at barrycullen.com. And before we wrap the show up, guys, I'm going to play a little video clip from Romina's YouTube channel. It's called Best Things to Do in Miami, Florida, 2026 in 3 days. And this is her travel guide. And this is from her YouTube channel, REDROMINA. And you can, Red Romina on YouTube. Hopefully I didn't butcher her name. We're going to play the clip right now. Please subscribe, like, and share her YouTube channel as well. She has some terrific content.
Here are the top 5 things to do for a short visit in Miami. Miami's top destination for tourists is South Beach. So, of course, I am not going to start there. We're going to be adventurous and head out to the Everglades. Just 30 minutes from the Miami-Dade city limit is the thick of the Everglades National Park. Here, you can spend a morning on the water doing an airboat tour that takes you through the famous twisting mangrove tunnels of the Everglades, spotting wildlife like alligators and getting up close with Florida's natural landscape. For about $40, you can get out of the city for a while and do something unique. And if you're an intrepid foodie, then you might want to stop by one of the local diners of the Everglades and try the gator bites or frog legs. Hear me out. They're actually pretty good, but I understand that it might not be for everyone. Obviously, the airboat expedition is a great activity if you are renting a car, which I highly recommend to get the most out of your time in Miami. Plus, it's fascinating to see the landscape radically change while driving down 8th Street from urban to tropical wetlands as you enter the Everglades. Miami is a diverse pool of culture, ethnicities, and nationalities. As a result, the food experience in Miami is a standout must-do. When you have a limited time in a place, it's tough to really capture the full essence. Luckily, you can hit up Calle Ocho or 8th Street in Little Havana and do a food and culture walking tour. There are a couple of companies that will organize this for you and take a group of curious visitors to various local restaurants, cigar shops, mom and pop shops, and more. These tours generally last about 2 or 3 hours and are all on foot, rain or shine. Depending on what's included, they could run you about $50 or $60, but that includes everything. Some even include a mojito tasting, which is fun, of course. I'm local to Miami, and I would say that this is a cost-effective way of making the most of your time, getting to try a variety of tropical cuisine dishes and learn a bit about the history of the city. Of course, you can go to Little Havana and do the tour yourself, but doing everything a la carte might take more time and cost more. Make sure you keep an eye out for the chickens and the roosters, who are also a staple of this neighborhood. If you're enjoying this video and to my face, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to me and press the notification bell to see more videos from me in the future. Also, make sure you stay all the way until the end of the video for a bonus tip. Now that we're on a culture run, and I'm all about the culture, let's talk about museums. Miami is known internationally for its music and art. Being the home of Art Basel, one of the largest annual art festivals of the year, the city is home to artists and art lovers. As a result, we have a bunch of museums. I could probably make a separate video on only the museums to visit in Miami. Let me know in the comments or on Twitter if this is something you'd be interested in. For this video, I'll mention the 2 museums I think are worth visiting when you have a limited time in Miami. On the coast of Biscayne Bay, we have Museum Park, which is an actual green park along the water where you can walk.
All right, everyone, that video was courtesy of Romina, REDROMINA on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to her YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you so much to Romina for coming on here today. So please follow her on her website, redromina.com. And also she's on Facebook, Instagram, and I think everywhere where social media platforms are as well. So thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to all the audience for their great questions today as well. And it's the guests and the audience that make a great talk show. So thank you to everyone for watching this show, listening to our show, and to our guest Romina as well. And safe travels on her next vacation as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, on this Thursday, May 14th, 2026, I have another show tonight at 7 o'clock with my co-host Nick Small, called the Argo Bounce Podcast Show. It's a weekly podcast show during the CFL season about the Toronto Argonauts. And tonight, Nick and I are going to just do a special training camp episode of the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, as the Toronto Argonauts are back in training camp here at the University of Guelph. And we'll have a couple of preseason games coming up on May 23rd against the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Hamilton, and then May 29th at the University of Guelph against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And they will have a double blue scrimmage game, I believe, Sunday, May 17th at I think 3 o'clock at Alumni Stadium as well. So if you're a fan of the Toronto Argonauts, fan of the CFL, and a fan of Nick Small and myself, check out the Argo Bounce Podcast Show tonight, Thursday, May 17th, 7 o'clock. And Nick and I are going to talk a little bit about the Argos off-season free agency moves, as well as their draft picks and some of the players to look out for. And I'm going to air one of my in-person interviews with the Toronto Argonaut player on the weekend as well. And as we wrap up this show, guys, I just get another comment from Mandog. Thank you so much, Mandog 2026, and everyone for watching this show live stream and on YouTube as well. And hopefully we'll have Romina on our show again in the future. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing my first show with Nick Small in 6 months. And my other show, the Small Talk Podcast with Marlene Sharp and myself, a once a month entertainment talk show with Marlene and myself. We'll be back probably at the end of May as well for another show as well. And stay tuned to my social media pages for more content and promos as well. And that is about it, guys. Again, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com. And also, before we wrap this show up about Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, right now they have a package. An adventure starts with an EV health check package. Every package includes a complimentary barbecue utensil. It is barbecue season now. It includes a 12-volt battery condition check, 70-point vehicle health check, and tire rotation. Underbody wash for $239.99 for cars and trucks. More details at barrycullen.com or call the dealership at 519-824-0210. And this offer for EV health checks expires on May 31st, 2026. And if you're looking for an EV, there's no better place in town at the regional dealership, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, if you're looking for a quality GM EV vehicle as well. And that is about it for tonight's show, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to Romina, or REDROMINA for coming on our show, and to everyone again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And I also have another Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show Friday, May 17th at 7 p.m. with professional wrestler and champion Zandra Lee. If you want to, if you love the world of professional wrestling, there's nobody better than this Zandra Lee, who's a women's champion, who's going to be on my show tomorrow night, Friday, May 15th at 7 p.m. as well. And again, the Argo Bounce podcast show coming up at 7 o'clock tonight with Nick Small and myself. And again, thank you to REDROMINA for coming on our show, and everyone for watching this show as well. We will see you guys at 7 o'clock tonight for the training camp edition of the Argo Bounce podcast show. And again, this show is brought to you by the folks at barrycullen.com. Have a good afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you guys later on tonight for the Argo Bounce podcast show.